Hello, my friends. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital. And I want to thank you for the privilege of listening to these podcasts because I do them from the bottom of my heart to try to give you information that I hope you find very valuable. Thanks to the generosity of Truth Be Told Radio Network, we are able to come to you every week, every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we repeat the program every Saturday at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. But I want to tell you something that is even more important. You can go to Spotify and search Truth Be Told Radio Network, and you're going to be able to find a lot of podcasts like this that I hope you can enjoy, you can learn something from them, and the best to me would be if you follow me, if you share them, because I think it's important information that you can share to everybody that you love. And now that we're beginning a new year, now that we're beginning a new part of our lives, I think that it's time to think what we want to do in the future. And I want to remind you that disease does not occur overnight, particularly chronic degenerative disease, which is what's killing us. Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, etc. We have years to change the path. We have many years to prevent. We have many years to avoid it. Don't wait till the doctor tells you you have a deadly diagnosis. Make the change today. Start this time. This time of New Year's resolution would be the perfect time to shift the road to health and wellness. You have a friend, Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez. I'm available if you give me a call, if you click on the social media of your choice, Facebook, Twitter, etc., or if you go to our website. Ask any question. Get information. Educate yourself. And make sure that you and your family will have what I wish you most: a very healthy long life. I am Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I'm very happy to be with you once again for another podcast. I hope you're enjoying these conversations because I really want to have a very open discussion about what we do and why we do it. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare. I have been working for over 50 years as a doctor and for 30 good years in alternative medicine, in looking at different ways to do medicine, which actually are the old ways to do medicine. They have nothing new. They are actually from when medicine was done with a lot of thought, with a lot of care, with a lot of conscientiousness, that right now we have just passed to the laboratory or to the imaging place, and all we want to do is look at numbers or look at images, and that's it. But let me begin by telling you something that I have always wanted to tell you. And on this one, you have to trust me. You have to trust me the same way probably you trust your grandmother every time she told you, this is good for you. And actually, we all know that phrase very well. We all know how many times our mothers, grandmothers, people that were around us told us, eat your veggies because it's good for you, cover yourself because it's good for you, take a break because it's good for you, sleep well, don't drink, don't smoke, etc., because it is good for you. But we grew gradually more and more, really not paying attention to that. Because when antibiotics came around and we started defeating deadly diseases like pneumonia or tuberculosis, well, we thought we got it made. We could have our cake and eat it too. We could do whatever we wanted. And in that situation, we started making a lot of changes. And in the last probably 50, 70 years, we have made big changes. And I mean big changes in our lifestyles. And you don't have to be going to the library and look for a very old book. All you have to do is look at television. If you want to watch a TV program of, let's say, back in the 50s and 60s, you're going to see how different lifestyles were. You're going to also notice that people were a lot thinner, a lot more fit. And with that situation, you have to start thinking what has happened between that moment and today. Not only that, but as I told you, you used to succumb to mainly infectious diseases like tuberculosis, pneumonia. Pneumonia was a big killer. I mean, every winter, when we had a cold situation, we could catch up what looked like a flu and ended up being a pneumonia, and people died, and many people died because of it. So every time you had pneumonia, you would retreat to your room, you would be very careful, you drank a lot of fluids, you took care of that body in order to help him glide and get through the process. Otherwise, they would succumb to it. But since that was conquered, we thought, well, and you've seen it, you have lived with it. You probably have done it yourself, have seen somebody doing it, that you find somebody at the movies and you say, oh, I'm glad you're here. You're enjoying the movie. Oh, you're fantastic. And well, I haven't seen you for a while. Oh, well, I have pneumonia. How come you have pneumonia? Yeah, but the doctor gave me this and this and this, and I feel fine, so I could come to the movies. In other words, we're not giving the pneumonia the respect it deserves. We don't give the body the chance to recover, to create antibodies, etc., and become stronger. We think we're defeating the disease, but all we're defeating is a lot of our immunity, a lot of our resilience, a lot of our resources. So we have to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And that comes from a very simple situation. We have to think that everything we do in life has a purpose. And everything we do in life as a group is called lifestyle. What we do in our daily routine, what time we get up, what sort of activities we have, how much physical activity we have, how well we sleep, what we eat, what times we eat, where we buy our food, how we prepare it, etc. That is lifestyle. And that lifestyle has changed radically. And we went from dying of pneumonia to dying, in the majority of the cases in America, from chronic degenerative inflammatory diseases. Today in America, we die of heart attacks, strokes, Alzheimer's, diabetes, kidney disease, high blood pressure. All those diseases are self-inflicted. All those diseases come from within. We don't need a bacteria, we don't need a microbe, we don't need anything. We're working against ourselves. And that is the health condition that we have seen today. That we went from people dying of something to people dying of chronic degenerative diseases. And what's worse, these chronic degenerative diseases are affecting more and more and more younger generation. We see it in younger people. How many cases of diabetes type 1, this is diabetes in young people, do you know? We didn't know anybody. When I was a kid, it was just like a curiosity. Today, I know many. Asthma and allergic diseases were unknown. Today, they are the norm. Suffice to tell you that if you go to the market, you're going to find gluten-free, lactose-free, this and that, because we cannot even tolerate the foods that are offered to our children and to ourselves. So I want to take you by the hand, and I want to show you the road to understand, because I think it's very important that you understand, that you follow the path on how that lifestyle, on how that life is going to take you to free radicals, to oxidative damage, to chronic inflammatory diseases, and to deadly diseases and death. If you understand this path, it will probably be a lot easier for you to understand why. When I tell you, do this, don't do this, don't do that, is because I really mean that it's good for you. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital, and I have been telling you about lifestyle. Lifestyle is everything you do on your daily routine. From the time you go to bed, good night's sleep, what time you get up, what you do, where you go, how fast you move, what are the pressures, the stresses of the day. You have to take the children to school, you have to prepare breakfast before they leave, you have to encounter a problem like you're ready to go and you have a flat tire, etc. All those circumstances altogether are part of your lifestyle. And also, of course, is what you eat, what you do, what exercise, how much movement you do, how much you dedicate for your leisure. Leisure is very important. Okay, don't discard it. Leisure time is health time, and when you put it all together, then is when we start understanding how we function. And what I'm trying to do today is take you by the hand from the beginning, how that lifestyle can translate itself into health problems. And those health problems are going to be probably produced by oxidative stress, and we're going to talk about that. Oxidative stress, free radical production, that when it is not handled correctly by the body, which again is our responsibility, then will produce a chronic inflammation. And that chronic inflammation can produce a lot of cell damage. And I'm going to explain also about it. So I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to be right there. And that cell damage will translate into abnormal cell production. Not only we are producing abnormal cells, but we're tolerating them. We don't destroy them as we should. And that puts us at the threshold of a cancer. Faulty cells that are not destroyed equal cancer. And then you have a deadly disease on top of you. But it all began in the beginning. Your lifestyle, how you live your life. And I was telling you at the beginning of this program that it's as simple as to trust me or trust your grandmother. Every time you think this is good for you, it probably will. But every time you know you're doing something that's not good for you, remember you're going to have to pay a price for it. We are alive. Thank God we are alive. We have a life. And that life means that we have energy, that we can move, that we can see, that we can talk, that we can move muscles, that we can do things, that we can cook, that we can eat, that we can... Every single action of our daily life will be fueled by energy that we produce in our own body. And many of you already know that that energy is coming from substances in our food supply that are called carbohydrates, or carbs for short. And those carbs are going to be ingested, and they're going to be used, and we are going to produce energy, and so on. Now, not all carbs have been created equal. That's very important to understand. And it doesn't surprise me that the ones that got made are a lot better than the ones that we buy at a factory. I'm going to give you a good example. Sugarcane. Sugarcane is rich in carbs. We all know that. But those carbs are very complex. The sugar in sugarcane is a complex substance with a lot of minerals, like chromium. But once you send that sugarcane to a factory, and then it's refined and bleached and everything, you end up with a product that is readily available. And you say, what's wrong if I put a more usable fuel in my body than sugarcane or complex sugars, like when I eat a banana, that I have to digest and change into something usable? What's the problem? I'm using this sweetener, which is readily available to the body, and that can be burned in 2 seconds. Sounds like logic, right? Well, no, it is not that easy, because our bodies are used to handle these materials through a very complex metabolic pathway. Those carbs, when they're complex, they have to be broken down, they have to be ingested, they have to go to the liver, and the liver will decide where they're going to and will be releasing them gradually to the body, so we have a constant flow for energy. When you have that refined sugar, and all of us have felt it, you take it and you have an energy boost. Because all of a sudden you put all this sugar, usable sugar, in the blood. But it overwhelms the system. It overwhelms it to a point that our bodies don't really know what to do with it. And all of a sudden they have the feeling that we have too much sugar that I cannot use, so what am I going to do? I'm going to store it. Send it to the liver. The liver will know what to do with it. And the liver doesn't know what to do exactly with it, so it turns into a fat. And we develop a very common condition in America, a fatty liver. Not only that, but then we're going to put it in a waistline. So all of a sudden, that excess caloric overload is going to go to places where we do not want it, where we do not need them. So what you have to do is give it its time. Take complex carbohydrates. A good friend of mine always said, eat foods just as God created them and as close to that creation as possible. So don't do too many things. Don't be too creative. You can use some heat, you can use some seasoning, you can use a few things, but don't overcook it, don't overdo things, and factories overdo it. Not only that, but they're going to add chemicals so it can last a long time in your shelf. So those carbs, as they're being burned, they produce side substances, unwanted substances. Like any combustion, we're going to be creating free radicals. Smoke, so to speak. Like when you have a barbecue Yes, you're cooking a very nice barbecue, but there's smoke in the air. That's what we produce. And that smoke can damage our blood vessels and can damage a lot of functions in the body. So the body knows what to do with them, and we have a very sophisticated, very complex antioxidant system. And that antioxidant system is going to take those free radicals, is going to neutralize them, is going to defeat them, and is going to eliminate them from the body. And at the end of the day, we are as healthy as we were in the morning. What's wrong with that? Okay, two things can go wrong. One, if we produce a lot of free radicals, how can we overload our body with free radical production? Well, when we do things but the body doesn't really like refined carbohydrates. That sugar I was telling you, it comes in overwhelming amounts. So we put these cells to work in overdrive, and we produce a lot more free radicals than if we ate a banana. So that is a problem. Another problem, toxics. We all consume toxics. We smoke, passively or actively. We all smoke. I mean, if you live near a factory, if you just walk in the street with all the cars going and back and forth, we're smoking. We're getting smoke in our lungs. When we have alcohol, alcohol triggers a higher amount of free radicals. And chemicals. Well, where chemicals are coming from? From our food supply. It has coloring, flavoring, preservatives, you name it. Those chemicals should not be in our food. And we're eating them. So we increase the production of free radicals. And in a different podcast, I use this phrase, which is simple. The cleanest city is not the one you clean the most, but the one you dirty the most. The one that you do not soil. And a good example also is two animals. One is the dove, and the other one is the rat. The doves virtually produce no free radicals because they have a very clean lifestyle. They eat grains, they have water, and they have a very peaceful life. But rats, they produce a lot of free radicals, and they need a lot of a very complex antioxidant system. But they live in a drainage, they eat garbage, they eat chemicals, they eat everything. So they have a lot of problems to cope with. And in spite of that good antioxidant system, they die very soon. Whereas doves can last a much longer time. So what we have to do is we have to live like doves. Keep that in mind. Produce as low as possible of free radicals. So whatever you have as an antioxidant system is going to be sufficient and it's going to work in good condition. That's going to keep you in good balance. Where antioxidants are coming from? Well, you know it because you watch TV ads and so forth. This has antioxidants, this has antioxidants, and virtually every natural product has antioxidants. People tell me, doctor, I drink pomegranate juice because I saw it has a lot of antioxidants. And I say, yes, but don't take it that easy. It has to be fresh, not in a jar. Let's keep on talking. My dear friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. I'm having fun talking of these subjects with you because it has taken me many, many years to digest, to understand. And I want to give them to you because I am absolutely convinced that many of us don't do things because we don't trust our grandmothers, we don't trust our doctors, we don't even trust our own selves. When some little voice inside your brain tells you don't smoke, don't drink, eat your veggies, etc. And it's harder because we don't understand the link. Is there a real link between that lifestyle and what we do and cancer or diabetes or Alzheimer's? Yes, there is a definite link. All these diseases I have mentioned are a consequence of a lot of things we have done in the past. That's why to me it's very important to take you by the hand from lifestyle to free radical production to chronic inflammation and to deadly diseases. Because if you do understand the link, it'll probably be a lot easier for you to say, no, this is not good for me. I remember the Reagan era when they said, the simplest of all the phrases I have heard, but very effective. Just say no. 3 words with a very powerful meaning. If you can just say no to certain things, you're going to gain so much health, so much stamina, so much enjoyment and wellness just by saying no. And that's what we're talking about. If we as a body need fuel and we take that fuel from food, we have to choose the foods that our body was designed to use. Let's say, for example, that we have to choose the fuel because not fuel is the same. So if you were meant to have a banana, if you were meant to have a beet, if you were programmed to have all these types of foods and you replace them by refined sugar, you might be creating a problem. And much worse if you decide to use a chemical like the artificial sweeteners. And I could do 2 hours in conversation to explain you how that is absolutely dreadful to your health. Just say no. Believe me. Take my word for it. Trust me. A bitter cup of coffee is a lot better than a sweet cup of these chemical things. Don't do it. Just say no. Well, if you understand all this link, then it'll be a lot easier for you to know what we want to do. So we were saying that when we create free radicals, that can give a lot of problems. So we have an antioxidant system that is derived from where else? From food. And when we watch TV, they tell you this has antioxidants, this has antioxidants, this has antioxidants. And yes, pomegranate is very, very rich in antioxidants. But that's if you have a fresh one. I mean, a jar from the market, no matter that they tell you freshly squeezed, etc., etc., it's going to have 10% of the antioxidant capacity. So what you have to do is you have to go to the market, go to the farmer's market, because it's going to be a lot fresher. And if it's not season for pomegranates, don't eat them. wait for the season. But you will find something else. You might find peaches, you might find apples. Choose organically grown, because that's the real thing. They haven't been pushed in any way. Because if you use chemicals to grow your food, that food is abnormal. You cannot trust it. But if you go to a local producer, to a local farm, a market, you're going to find local products that are fresh and good for you. And that is going to create a very powerful antioxidant system. Many times it's not exactly that the antioxidant is in the food, but the substances with which we build our own antioxidants in the body come from the food too. So one way or another, food and our antioxidant system go hand in hand. Now, when for some reason a deficient antioxidant system or an overproduction of free radicals happens, we have an overflow of free radicals that in turn are going to trigger low-grade inflammation, systemic inflammation. And then we start getting inflamed in our body. Now let me tell you something. You might say, well, the doctor is very much against inflammation. Of course not. I'm not against inflammation. Inflammation is one of the marvels of life. Same as energy production, inflammation is a lifesaver. Inflammation was given to us as a very protective mechanism. When we have any type of assault, inflammation is there for us to save our lives. But whenever the insult is gone, that inflammation level will go back to normal. But what happens if the inflammation is triggered by abnormal substances? And once again, refined sugar is one of the worst. What if we keep eating sugar and sugar and sugar and sugar every day? What if we keep eating offending substances, chemicals? What's going to happen is we're going to have too many free radicals and inflammation is going to set in. What if we don't eat any vegetables, if we don't take care of ourselves? Then our antioxidant system is in bad shape. But it can be worse. What happens if your diet is poor and your free radical production is high? You go to a nice restaurant and you have scotch to begin and smoke a cigarette while you talk. And then you have a 16-ounce piece of steak. Again, steak is not bad, but 16 ounces are not for human consumption. And then you eat a huge dessert. And all through the dinner you have a lot of wine. And at the end you have a cognac or some of those drinks, and you smoke a cigar. Where are the antioxidant protection in that evening? Nowhere. Where are the offending factors? Everywhere. A lot of sugar, overwhelming amount of animal protein, overwhelming amount of fats, overwhelming amount of toxics, like alcohol and tobacco. You follow me? What are you expecting for the following day? You have a body with a huge production of free radicals and, of course, inflammation. And that chronic inflammation is going to affect the membranes, because that's what inflammation does. Inflammation is a word to mention a number of biochemical processes in the body that produce a lot of what we call inflammatory markers. Because these substances are produced during the inflammatory process and we can look for them in the blood. and tell you you have a high degree of inflammation. And that inflammation will damage membranes, and those membranes will affect a lot of functions, and every now and then we produce faulty cells in the body. But we have a self-protective system called apoptosis. So when a cell discovers that it's not fit to do the job, it self-destroys. Couldn't be better than that. You don't even have to chase it, to put it in jail, to do anything. If that cell discovers it is not a good cell, it will self-destroy. Well, when you have chronic inflammation, that doesn't happen because apoptosis gets inhibited. So abnormal cells can be produced and prevail. Not only prevail, but multiply. And chronic inflammation also puts down a little bit the immune system. So we are going to be creating bad cells, and we're not going to be fighting them. We are at the beginning of a tumor. The most important part is that everything that I'm telling you can take years, many, many years. So it's important to know that through these many years, all these silent phenomena are getting ready to attack you, to destroy you, to kill you. Wouldn't it be wonderful if you pay a little bit attention and awareness and detect them before they hit you? Let's talk about biocaring ourselves. I am Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital. Over 50 years as a doctor and many, many years, probably more, close to 4 decades of alternative medicine and integrative medicine practice have put me in the possibility of talking with you and tell you that, trust me, when I tell you this is good for you, it is because it is. And because I believe that motivation and commitment will be a lot easier when we understand why we do things. That's why I want to have this conversation with you. When we can understand exactly what happens when we do something we know, because we know we shouldn't do. We know we shouldn't get drunk. We know we shouldn't smoke. We know we shouldn't overeat. We know we should not be just sitting all day long watching TV. We know all that. But when we understand why it's not good for you, it's going to be a lot easier to shift the path and say, this is not my way. And that's what I'm going to be asking you today. I'm going to be asking to completely shift the path. I'm not going to ask you, why don't you make a little change? I know some programs will tell you do a small change every day and gradually you're going to be in better shape. I think it's a lot better to be convinced that what we're doing is going to take us to a lot of problems and say, what do I want to do? Do I want to wait and see if they're right? Or I want to do the changes? During my life as a doctor, I have had the painful experience, not once or twice, but many times, of having people that come to me and tell me, doctor, please help me. I'm going to do everything you tell me from now on. I'm going to do everything you say. I'm going to follow through. But please help me. And you know, some of those people died the very same day of that conversation. What I want to say is, you don't have to wait until it's very late. All the changes that I've been talking about on how our normal metabolic life will produce free radicals, how we can counteract them and block them, and how, if we don't do, those free radicals are going to produce chronic inflammation, and how that chronic inflammation will help with the production of our normal cells and damage to the cell membranes, and be the culprit for deadly diseases like Alzheimer's or heart disease or strokes or cancer. Well, if you can understand that route, that link, it'll be a lot easier for you to say, I want to make some changes. I want to shift the path. And the beginning of a cycle, like the new year, like your birthday, like spring, well, that's a very good opportunity to say, I'm going to make the change. And that change is what's going to help you. Because you have to consider that you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you have cancer. Or you're working one day and all of a sudden you have all this feeling, they take you to the emergency room and you have a stroke. Or this pain and you have a heart attack. Or gradually your memory is fading and before you completely lose it, they tell you you have Alzheimer's. Well, between that moment, between that catastrophic moment and the onset of the problem, many years have gone by. And that's what I want to talk about. Because no, I don't want you to be my patient. I want you to be my friend. I want to be a follower. I want to be a believer in all these things. And I want you to start as soon as you can, as soon as you have conscience about it. I know some children, 8, 10 years old, that already ask me questions about what should I eat, what shouldn't I eat. They begin to understand because information is finally trickling down to the younger people. Because we used to think that when you're young, everything is possible. You can do whatever you want. You can have your cake and eat it too. But now we know that it's not that. It's just that we don't realize what's happening until it might be too late. So what you have to do is you have to educate yourself. You have to educate your children. You have to educate your family and start making changes. And say, what did I do wrong? How can I put everything together so I can take a different path to health and wellness? And I'm going to give you the answer. And the answer is very simple. All you have to do is give me a call, follow me, listen to these broadcasts, ask questions. We have a professional team of doctors, nurses, nutritionists that will be very happy to talk to you at no charge. Just happy to discuss with you what can we do to help you to prevent getting to that point of disease. Because if you can do that, you're going to be a survivor. And more importantly, you're going to be a healthy old person, not a sick young person. And look around you. Every day we see more and more younger people affected by chronic degenerative diseases, with arthritis, with heart disease, with circulatory problems, with degenerative joint problems. I've seen more and more young people, 30s, 40s, being operated of their knees and so forth because they were not well taken care of. That's what is BioCare all about. That's why I want you to follow and to get the instructions, the know-how, the owner's manual for your body so you can do all these on your own. If you're, let's say, 50 years old, that's the time of the 50,000-mile checkup. That's the time for a 2-week, 10 days BioCare health getaway at the hospital. You're going to come in here and you're going to see how a lot of things, good things, happen to your body. Through the years, we have treated people with cancer. We have treated people with deadly diseases. And I have always been amazed. It never ceases to amaze me how BioCare can change the progression of the disease. But the more we went, the longer we did it, the more we studied and the research came around, we found that our programs, our biological programs, were successful because, number one, they are anti-inflammatory in themselves. The types of food, the times of eating, the organization of the daily routine around rest and also sleep and also physical activity and also good food and also good eating times, etc. All those were conducive to anti-inflammation. Enemas are anti-inflammatory. Digestive enzymes are anti-inflammatory. And as anti-inflammation progressed, people start doing better and better. It has been discovered lately that when inflammatory levels are high, not even chemotherapy works for cancer. So if you think that taking a drug is going to do the job, think again. You need to be part of it. You need to participate. You need to commit yourself to say, I'm going to do a BioCare system program. Because I'm going to change the way I function. I'm going to help my body to defend itself. We're not just a pillow, an inert thing. We are filled with a lot of protective functions, immune system, antioxidants, restorative, healing processes that we have to help to happen. And many times they don't happen because we don't give the body the chance, because we are overproducing a lot of substances that the body doesn't need. We're producing a lot of free radicals. We are overwhelmed by inflammation. We are overwhelmed by a lot of things that we do in what we call lifestyle. And that's the one we have to shift. But shift it. The younger you can, the younger you understand how important it is, the better. Because that's going to give you a longer life, much more wellness and enjoyment. So that's my message for you today. The question is that what we do in everyday life can affect our free radical antioxidant systems, and that can create chronic inflammation, and that chronic inflammation will bring about a lot of deadly diseases. But between this part and this part, there are many years where you have a say-so, where you can intervene. And if you call me, or if you click and ask a question, I'm going to be very happy to help you and make sure you have a long, fantastic life.